She hadn't heard her name spoken in months, not kindly, not like it meant anything. Until a stranger stopped in the street, looked her in the eyes, and said, "Are you Sophia?" If you're ready to hear the whole story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because, tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as crazy as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let's get into it. Sophia had learned not to make noise when she slept in public. No coughing. No rustling. Don't stretch too wide. Don't draw eyes. She curled up on the cold metal bench outside Union Station, one sneaker dangling slightly off her heel, the other tucked under her jacket like a makeshift pillow. Her jeans were clean, not because she had many, but because last night's rain had soaked her through, and she'd scrubbed them in the gas station sink until her knuckles went red. She watched the sky start to lighten, gray before gold, and wondered if the library would let her in early. It always started with a book. Then warmth. Then maybe, if she was lucky, sleep in a corner chair until the security guard made rounds. That was her rhythm now. Her world, 7 blocks of downtown, a used-up transit card, and a plastic bag with 2 apples, 1 charger, and a photo she never looked at anymore. People passed her like she was fog. Men in ties. Women in sneakers and suits. Tourists. Early workers. Nobody looked. Not even in disgust. That was worse than hate, being nothing. Inside the station, she used the bathroom. Tied her hair up. Wiped her face with a dry paper towel like it was a ritual. She stared at her reflection for a long time. Still pretty, maybe? If you ignored the shadows under her eyes and the sunken cheeks. Her skin still held color. Her hands still moved with intention. But she didn't look like anyone would wait for. She left the station and sat on the stone ledge near the flower kiosk. She could usually sit there until 10 a.m. before security shifted her along. She pulled a tattered paperback from her bag. The spine was cracked, the pages swollen from rain. Jane Eyre. The irony made her smirk sometimes. 10 pages in, a shadow blocked the light. She didn't look up. People stood too close all the time. But then the voice came. Not harsh. Not rushed. Not full of pity. Just curious. "Excuse me, are you Sophia?" She blinked. The last time someone had said her name, really said it, was the day her divorce papers were served. Back when her name still appeared on an envelope. On a lease. On something other than a forgotten court record. Sophia Holloway? Now she looked up. A man stood there, early 40s, trim beard, dark wool coat. Not dressed like a cop or a social worker. More like an attorney. Or someone who wasn't supposed to be in this part of the city. "Sorry," she said. "You've got the wrong person." She moved to stand. He hesitated, pulled something from his coat. A small envelope. Her full name written on the front in ink. Not typed. Not stamped. Handwritten. He offered it carefully. "This is going to sound strange," he said. "But I was asked to find you. You're listed as the sole beneficiary of an estate." Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. He added gently, "You've inherited $47 million, Miss Holloway." The bench suddenly felt too small. The sky too bright. And for the first time in months, she didn't know whether to run. Or believe him. Sophia didn't touch the envelope. Her fingers twitched at her side, but her body remained still, like moving might confirm something she couldn't take back. The man held it out longer than was comfortable, then finally lowered his hand. "I know this is a lot. I can explain everything, if you'll give me 10 minutes. She narrowed her eyes. 10 minutes where? "There's a coffee shop around the corner. Public. Well, you can sit near the door if you want." Sophia glanced at the street. Her bag. Her shoes. "Do I look like someone who gets coffee with strangers?" His voice didn't change. "You look like someone who deserves to hear what was left for her." That stopped her. Not what you deserve, but what was left for you. She followed him, slowly, cautiously, ready to run if anything felt wrong. Inside the cafe, the air hit different. Smelling of cinnamon, espresso, clean wood. She stood near the door. He motioned to a table. "I'll order. What do you want?" She hesitated, then shrugged. "Hot tea." When he brought it over, she didn't drink it. just held the paper cup between her palms like it might explain something. He pulled out a tablet, opened a document. A photo popped up, a woman in her 80s, smiling at a garden. Her name was Miriam Holloway. She passed 2 weeks ago. She was your grandmother. Sophia's mouth went dry. My grandma died when I was little. No, he said gently. That was your father's mother. This was your mother's. Sophia blinked. I never met her. She knew of you. After your mother passed, she tried to find you. But your father moved. Disconnected. There was a long legal trail, but she left everything to you. She stared at the screen. The woman had her eyes. Softer. Fuller. But familiar. Why? She said you'd need it someday. Sophia looked away. Her throat burned. He continued quietly. She lived modestly, invested wisely. Never remarried. No other children. You're the only direct heir. The tea steamed between her fingers. Still untouched. Sophia closed her eyes. A memory flickered, someone braiding her hair once. Singing a lullaby she couldn't place. Maybe it was her mother. Maybe it was a story someone told her once. It didn't matter. The ache was real. I don't have ID, she whispered. No address. Nothing to prove who I am. He nodded. We've already verified through probate court. The DNA test was submitted months ago, part of the estate setup. You don't need to prove anything. Her head spun. What's the catch? There isn't one. There's always a catch. He looked at her, not like she was crazy, but like he understood exactly why she asked. Then he slid the envelope toward her again. It's yours, Sophia. All of it. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside, a single sheet. Her full name in cursive. The amount. The executor's stamp. No tricks. No scam. Just her name. Ink. She didn't cry. Not yet. But she whispered, almost too soft to hear. Somebody remembered me. He nodded. They did. Outside, people walked past the window. Unaware. Unbothered. But for the first time in months, Sophia didn't feel like fog. She felt like a name. The hotel room was too quiet. Not the kind of quiet that soothes, the kind that screams. Sophia stood by the window, staring at the skyline like it might disappear. The bed behind her was untouched. White sheets. Thick pillows. A welcome card with her name printed neatly in gold. She hadn't sat down in hours. She couldn't. Her reflection in the glass looked like someone else. A woman in clean clothes, gifted to her at the front desk. Her hair combed. Her shoes dry. And still, she felt like she was trespassing. There was food on the table, room service she hadn't touched. A tray with salmon, vegetables, warm rolls. Too neat. Too expensive. She'd stolen crackers from a gas station 2 nights ago. Now this? She walked to the bathroom and stared at herself again. Whiter eyes. Smoother skin under the warm light. The dirt was gone, but the weight hadn't left. She whispered to the mirror, "You're not her. Not the woman with $47 million. Not the granddaughter of someone generous. Not the person they thought they found. Just Sophia. Divorced. Discarded. A nobody in someone else's robe. The stranger, Michael, she had learned, had left hours ago after walking her up, giving her space. He offered his number. Said he'd return in the morning. She hadn't texted him. What would she even say? She sat finally, arms wrapped tight around her legs, eyes fixed on the carpet. And the memory came. Not loud. Not violent. Just so. Her ex-husband's voice. The day she left. You'll regret this, sophomore. You think the world's waiting for you? It's not. You're nothing without this house, without me. He hadn't yelled. That wasn't his style. It was worse. He made her believe it. The next morning, she hadn't eaten. She told herself it was nausea. Michael knocked once and waited. She let him in. He didn't smile too wide. Didn't act like anything was normal. Rough night. She nodded. Do you want to see the legal office today? Or take more time? Sophia looked down. I think maybe they got the wrong Sophia. Michael sat across from her, patient. They didn't. I didn't know her. I didn't visit. I didn't even send a card. He let the silence stretch before answering. That doesn't mean she didn't love you. Sophia's voice dropped. She shouldn't have. They sat like that for a long time. Her, folded into herself. Him, quiet, steady. Finally, he asked, "Can I show you something?" She nodded. He pulled up a scanned document on his phone. A handwritten note. Her grandmother's will. Not the legal jargon, the personal letter. If Sophia is found, remind her that love doesn't keep score. I saw her once in the park when she was little. Red dress. Laugh like wind chimes. That memory never left me. Sophia covered her mouth. And this time she did cry. Not loud. Just one hand over her face, breath shaking. Michael didn't touch her. He didn't need to. Later, she whispered, "I don't know how to start over." Michael replied, "Maybe don't. Just start." By nightfall, she finally sat on the bed. Knees to her chest, back to the headboard. She opened the bedside drawer. Inside was a notepad. She wrote one word. Just one. "Still here." Then put down the pen. And turned out the light. Michael returned the next day, right on time. Sophia opened the door without hesitation, but she didn't say much. She just stepped aside, let him in, and nodded once, the silent way she now said, "Thank you for showing up." He brought 2 coffees and a small paper bag. "What's that?" she asked, her voice still rough from sleep. "Bagels. Thought you might eat more if it smelled like childhood." Sophia raised a brow. "You assume I had bagels as a child. Did you?" She took the bag. "No. But I wanted them." He smiled. Just a little, and that was enough for both of them. They ate in near silence. Not awkward. Not cold. Just easy. Michael pulled out his tablet again. "There's some paperwork we'll need eventually. Nothing urgent. But we do need to discuss the trust structure." Sophia exhaled through her nose. "I still don't know what I'm doing." "You're not supposed to. That's why I'm here." She stared at him for a long beat. "No offense, but why are you here?" Michael tilted his head. "What do you mean?" "You found me. Gave me what I didn't know I had. You could have handed off a document and walked away. So why stay?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned his coffee slowly in his hand. Then softly, "My sister was on the streets for 3 years. She died before I ever really saw her." Sophia didn't speak. "She was smart," he continued. "Funnier than me. Stronger, honestly. But the world didn't want her after she broke." He glanced up. Their eyes met. "I guess I promised myself if I ever met someone like her again, I wouldn't look away." Sophia swallowed hard. There was no pity in his voice. No savior complex. Just loss, shared quietly like a secret he didn't usually tell. She leaned back, her hand brushing her arm. The hotel robe was soft, warm, clean, and suddenly, she didn't feel like a thief wearing someone else's comfort. She felt like maybe she'd borrowed peace, and maybe it was allowed. Later they walked just around the block. She hadn't stepped outside since she'd arrived. Too afraid someone would recognize her. Too unsure of where she belonged now. But beside Michael, it didn't feel like performance. It felt like breath. They stopped at a bookstore. She paused in the window. "Jane Eyre. A new copy. I used to read that over and over," she murmured, until the cover fell off. "You like stories about invisible women?" She nodded. "Only the ones who stop apologizing." Michael smiled. "That tracks." When they got back, she surprised herself by saying, "Do you have time for dinner tomorrow?" His brows lifted slightly, not in flirtation, in surprise. "I do. Just food. Not fancy. Maybe cheap tacos." "Even better." She paused, then added, "You don't need to keep checking on me, you know." "I know. But I'm glad you are." Michael nodded once. "Me too." Later that night, Sophia sat at the desk and opened the notepad again. This time she wrote, "Still here." And someone stayed. Then slowly she smiled. Sophia sat on the edge of the foundation office's long wooden table. The sun poured through the high windows, catching dust in the air. Alive. It didn't look like a boardroom. It looked like possibility. A volunteer handed her a list. These are our current shelter partners, the woman said. We're also sourcing therapists who specialize in trauma-informed support. Would you like to interview any yourself? Sophia nodded slowly, scanning the page. Her name was at the top of every document now. The Holloway Grace Initiative. It had taken 3 weeks. 3 weeks of meetings, of walking into rooms where people called her Ms. Holloway and offered her things before asking questions. 3 weeks of ignoring old instincts, to shrink, to hide, to say no before she could be rejected. Michael had stayed nearby. Not hovering. Just present. She didn't ask him to. She didn't need to. But she liked knowing he'd be there if she looked back. On her 3rd day at the office, she returned to the shelter she used to stay at. It wasn't to make a donation. Not to give back in some PR manicured way. She just brought food. And socks. She handed out gloves one by one. Sat beside an older woman on the curb and asked her name. Gloria, the woman said, without looking up. Do you want a soft pair or a warm pair? The woman paused, then looked her in the eye. Warm. Sophia smiled and handed her a pair of thick gray ones. The same brand she used to steal from Walgreens, praying not to be caught. She stayed 2 hours that day. Didn't post a photo. Didn't schedule a press release. Just sat and listened. And when someone asked, "Are you the woman who got rich overnight?" she replied softly, "No. I'm the woman who got seen." That night, Michael met her at the pier. It was windy. The ocean loud. The city lights behind them. You good? He asked, offering her a coffee like he always did. She nodded. Better than I've been in years. They didn't sit close. They didn't hold hands. They just stood beside each other and let the silence settle in. After a while, Sophia asked, "Did you ever find out what happened to your sister?" Michael hesitated, then shook his head. "I looked for too long. And then I stopped." Sophia stared at the waves, then handed him something, a folded paper from her coat pocket. "What's this?" "I found it when I visited the women's shelter last week," she said. One of the workers remembered her. Said she used to write poetry on napkins. He opened the paper. A poem. Handwritten. Slight smudged ink. The signature at the bottom was barely legible, but clear enough. He read it twice. Then pressed his lips together. He didn't cry, but his hands trembled. "Thank you," he whispered. "I thought maybe you'd want to know she wasn't forgotten." Michael folded the paper carefully. She wasn't. They stood like that for a long time. 2 people with ghosts behind them. And something new ahead. That night, Sophia went back to her hotel, though it wouldn't be a hotel for much longer. Tomorrow, she'd move into a small place she chose herself. Not too big. Not too cold. Just hers. She sat at the desk again. Opened the notepad one last time. And wrote. Still here. Someone stayed. Now I choose. The bench outside Union Station hadn't changed. Still metal. Still cold under morning fog. Still shadowed by a tired tree that dropped brittle leaves year-round. Sophia sat on it anyway. Not because she had nowhere else to be, but because she chose to be here. She wore soft jeans. Brown boots. A sweater the color of clay. Simple. She held a paper cup between her hands, steam curling from the lid. People passed by like always. But she didn't look through them anymore. And this time, a few looked back. A woman tapped her shoulder. "Hi, sorry, are you that woman? From the article? The one who got the inheritance?" Sophia smiled gently. "That's part of my story." "Yeah." The woman hesitated. "I just wanted to say, your story made me call my mom. I hadn't spoken to her in years." Sophia nodded. "I'm glad you did." The woman left. No autograph. No selfie. Just thanks. And that was more than enough. Michael arrived 5 minutes later. He held out a familiar cup. Tea. Bagel too. Always. They sat in silence for a while, just watching the morning begin. "So," he asked, "do you come here often?" Sophia smiled sideways. "Every Thursday." "Why?" "To remember." Michael nodded like he understood. Maybe he did. Across the street, a man sat curled on the curb. Sophia watched him carefully. tired eyes, threadbare hoodie. Something in his expression she recognized too well. She stood and walked over, kneeled beside him, offered a card, soft blue, worn edges. "There's a place that opens at 9, she said. "They have beds. Hot meals. A woman named Carla. Tell her Sophia sent you." He blinked at her, hesitated, took the card, didn't say thank you, didn't have to. She knew what it took just to reach for help. When she came back, Michael asked, "You do that often?" She nodded. "Every Thursday?" "Most days." He smiled. "You've become someone." Sophia turned toward him, soft but steady. "No. I finally remembered who I was before the world tried to make me forget." The morning moved on. No headlines. No cameras. Just two people on a bench. A stranger had once asked her name. Now the world knew it. But more importantly, she did. They rose together. Walked down the block. Past the cafe. Past the flower stand. At the corner, a little girl tugged her mother's hand, pointing at Sophia. "Mommy, that's the lady with the warm place." Sophia smiled. Her name carried weight now, not for the money, but for the meaning. For the fact that she stayed. At the end of the block, Michael paused. "Next week." Sophia tucked her hands into her coat. "I'll be here." "Same bench." She nodded. "Still here." Have you ever felt like the world forgot you, only to find your way back to yourself? Share your story in the comments. Someone else might need to hear it today. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.